Delivering quality content. With everything we've covered in the last lecture, you should now look as a good idea to set up a Twitter account for the best chance of growing organically and have synergy across all of your social media accounts. Though still, all the synergy in the world won't make up for lack of content. Ultimately, you want to ensure that you're constantly filling your Twitter account with new information that will make people want to sign up and keep following you. So the question you need to ask yourself is, what would your customers want to read? Who are your customers? This is the first question you should ask. And the answer, in case of this fake company, would be business owners. This is a fantastic niche. Business owners have plenty in common with one another and a very clear and obvious area of interest. In short, there's lots of potential for content that is going to be highly intriguing to this audience. Posts on customer service, on new business technologies, on social media marketing, on pricing, and more. You can provide some real value here with business tips and best practices, and your audience will eat it up. If you run a fitness blog, you can then provide fitness tips, workout advice, diet examples, and more. If you run a blog on martial arts, then discuss moves in your favorite martial arts films. Think of each tweet as a mini product and try to ensure that the reader benefits from it in some way, whether it's being entertained or by learning something. For business, industry news can also prove very popular, especially if it facilitates teamwork between brands, which we'll get to shortly. The lifestyle. Instead of directly discussing your niche, industry, or service, you can instead talk about the lifestyle of people who are involved with that niche. In other words, you try to sell the idea that you are part of a community and you post on subjects that might inspire and that your audience can relate to. This would work well for the example company who is doing software who is failing poorly in social media. Likely they're a small team and they probably work with a lot of businesses that are just starting out. This then puts the perfect position to tweet about their business and maybe upload pictures of the team to Instagram at Christmas wearing Christmas hats, or maybe to show behind the scenes photo of a new store that's setting up somewhere. This is inspiring and motivating for other young companies. It subtly shows off what this company's services can offer without ramming it down anyone's throats, directly promoting their products and services to their Twitter followers. It can also work even better, though, when some commercial businesses selling useful things. Going back to the outdoor fitness companies selling those running shoes, we can easily promote the lifestyle of running with Instagram pictures of people running on the beach or of trainers hanging up in covered snow. This could also tweet motivational sayings like success is the last person to stop running. Likewise, covering something everyone else can relate to might mean something along the lines of downside of running, too many clothes to wash. This is a powerful strategy because people will now feel like they're a part of something by following you on Twitter. Instead of a company, you're now a movement and an ideal. And this is somewhere social media can be truly powerful. Getting personal. Another strategy that you can also employ with your tweets that will often prove popular is that to provide some kind of personal insight into your business or life. This works especially well for celebrities and big bloggers. If you follow a very well-known blogger, you might find that they're interested to get some insights into their lives. What do they do in their spare time? What's their view on X? And what do they eat for dinner? This sort of thing sounds trivial and boring, but if your fans really respect your content, you may be surprised about how interested they are in seemingly mundane aspects of your life. It adds a new dimension to your content. It helps them get to know you and builds trust and familiarity with your business or brand. So if you're a fitness blogger, don't be afraid to tweet a picture of what you're having for dinner. If you're a business owner, don't be afraid to post a picture of your busy commute one morning. Of course, it's important to gauge this correctly, and some of you will find it easier and much more suitable to employ this technique. If you're part of a multinational corporation, then you might not find it appropriate to be too personal. If you run a small business, then a few personal or behind the scenes posts can help people get to know you. If you're a blogger in the same vein as Pat Flynn or Tim Ferriss, then feel free to be as personal, as opinionated as you like without offending anybody. Reacting to the news. Another way to ensure that your Twitter is consistently full of interesting, relevant, and quality information is to react to what's in the news and what's trending. Some commentators have described Twitter as being the pulse of the planet. What they mean by that is that the short form content on Twitter is the large number of users make is a great place for qualitative data In other words, there are a lot of words being posted in a format that is easy to interpret and that the way that they almost get the mood of the internet as a whole. Likewise, you can find what the current mind of the population is looking at and what is trending, which hashtags are currently being used most often. In all likelihood, if something big has just happened in the news, then hashtags related to that topic will be almost the most widely used at that time. Eventually, one particular hashtag will rise to the prominence that will come to represent that topic on Twitter. As someone who's trying to build prominence on Twitter, it's always a good idea to comment on these sorts of topics where possible. This is because you can be sure that a lot of people will be looking for those hashtags and will be retweeting that content. What's more, once you have an established brand on your Twitter, people should be interested to see your take on this matter. Just make sure you're careful to not be too decisive or offensive, unless this is your strategy. And make sure that the only comment when you have something worthwhile to contribute. Note as well, if you are commenting on something that is too big, it can easily get lost in the sea of other comments. Sometimes it's picking up on the somewhat big news that will actually get you more coverage. Better yet, picking up on a story that's big in your industry can be a great way to stand out and get noticed. This way, when the people see your posts, this will be more likely to be targeted, meaning that they are actually people or potential clients and customers who will fall within your target demographic. Make sure then that you keep one ear to the ground and do everything that you can stay constantly up to date with the latest developments. This might mean reading other blogs or industry newsletters. It might even mean following other Twitter users in your niche. Notice how useful it is when companies share news. Finding and sharing content. If you run a business with a lot to do, then there's only so many unique content that you will likely create in one day. And there's probably many witty things that you can think to say that your audience will likely enjoy. The good news is, though, that there's a fair amount of content that can be derivative or outright stolen. A lot of businesses is about creating a supplier with a consumer. If you run a supermarket, for instance, then your job will be mainly to buy cheap groceries and you can sell them for more to your audience. You aren't creating anything new, you're just acting as the middleman and getting paid for it. Running a Twitter account is often very similar to this, and in many ways, your job is to now scour the web for useful and interesting content, news, and stories that can then be shared with your audience. It might feel a bit odd that you're essentially profiting from someone else's hard work, but think of it instead as you're finding an audience for someone else's created, while at the same time curating content for a market you know will love it. That is a service you're providing. And it just so happens that this process is also a great way for you to keep your Twitter account active with great new content, and it barely involves any work on your part. So you want to make sure that you're continuously reading up on topics relating to your business. That means you should be reading other blogs, that you should be following other Twitter users, and that you should be reading magazines. Now, when you often find news that you think your audience will genuinely enjoy, you should share it with them. Make sure you don't keep sharing from the same place and try to find them things that they otherwise wouldn't have been able to find. If your blog is all about fitness, then perhaps you might want to share the results of a new study looking at surprising new training method. If you run a business to business, then perhaps you might share the results of a recent survey of types of businesses. Note though, if you do share new content, you should always add your own comment on the matter if possible. This way you personalize that link and it gets shared even more. Then people will be introduced to your brand rather than ignoring who shared it altogether. So if you found a study on a new muscle building supplement, your comment might be, "This could certainly help me lose my spare tire if it works on humans." Either way, you're not only sharing something that your audience will be interested in, but you're also doing it in a way that introduces people to your point of view and your beliefs. Do note, though, that the above posts aren't terribly clickable. If you want to see people take more notice of your link and follow it, then you may need to sell the value proposition a little. It's early days, but the results of the study could completely change my pre-workout stack. And because it shows the potential implications and how they might be relevant to your audience. Doing this is important because it will make your feed look more interesting and will increase engagement with your content that is people actually read it and come away with the positive experience. Don't go overboard with hyperbole though. If people think you're all hype and no substance, they'll quickly stop caring with what you have to say. When you share a link on Twitter, it should automatically be shortened to give you space to add your thoughts. I use Bitly. Of course, there are very easy ways to share content on Twitter. Just hit the retweet, and you can add your own commentary, and it's a great way to encourage more discussion. Deals and offers. There's one type of content that is average business gets right though, and that's to talk about the deals. This is something that surveys suggest followers do like to hear, because of course it provides them with value and the money that they could save. This is also a great way to reward your visitors for following you and make them feel special. If you have a product or service, then make sure you occasionally offer promotions to your Twitter followers. This is also a good way to get retweets if your followers know others who might benefit from what you have to sell. Giveaways are even better. You can give away a free ebook, a free drink, or anything else. Then it's bound to grab some attention and win some goodwill. Overcoming the fear. All this advice should help you to start adding real value to your Twitter account, which will make a massive difference to the way you're seen by your followers, and ultimately to how many people choose to start following you. This is far preferable than talking entirely about your products and services without offering anything in return. Unfortunately enough, some businesses are going to be resistant to this idea. This is a problem that many social media marketing agencies will face. They approach a company like our imaginary business and present them with a strategy. The problem is, the company thinks it's unprofessional to talk about business as a whole or off topic. They don't want to showcase other companies by retweeting or sharing links, and they certainly don't want to have an opinion. Don't be that company. Playing it safe is actually the surest way to appear out of touch, uninteresting, and uninspired. It might feel a little risky at first to be controversial or to discuss a wider range of topics, but that's precisely what you're making interesting. What's key is simply that your business has a clear identity and mission statement. As long as you adhere to that at all times, being a bit adventurous with your content will pay off. If you choose to have an agency for your digital and social media marketing, make sure that they're thinking along those lines.